Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Tell Me About Your Jesus podcast. I'm Brian, and I'm here with Shane, and we're just two ordinary people talking about our extraordinary God. We hope what you hear today helps you see how God moves in our lives.
All right, everybody, we are back with the next episode of Tell Me About Your Jesus podcast. Today it is just me and Brian. We're going to talk a little bit and just kind of update where we're at and things going on with the podcast. And so, Brian?
Yeah, so this turns out to be episode number 10.
Yeah.
Didn't know if we thought there would be 2 episodes or 3. But yeah, thanks to everyone that has been willing to share your story. A lot of great people that I've got to meet, you've got to meet, and just really looking forward to continuing that. But today, maybe since it's coming up on Father's Day when we're recording this, thought this would be a good time to maybe talk a little bit about different things going on past Father's Day, and just talking maybe a little bit about God the Father and how that relates to our lives, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So sorry if my chair's a little creaky, but we're going to see if we can fix that some. We're just going to try to chit-chat a little bit and maybe share some Father's Day stories and some stories about our kids and how they managed to survive and we didn't kill them.
Well, and again, it just kind of worked out this way. That's just you and me here on Father's Day weekend. I had a busy week, and honestly, I'm excited about some people we've got lined up, but we just needed to push it off a little bit, and then trying to stay on our regular cadence of releasing every other week. We wanted to get one in the can, so to speak, so we could be ready to go. Yeah,
keeps us from being quite as pressured as we are to try to get everything out all the time. And I think Brian had to travel most of the week, and I had to do a little traveling myself, and it's just been a busy week. And
it's funny. So I was in Orlando, right? The world place where all the dreams come true, where they call it the happiest place on earth.
Yeah, there you go.
Man, I saw a lot of unhappy people. Just like families when you reach that breaking point when everybody is Disneyed out. And we were just walking through Disney Springs, right? Looking through some of the shops there. And that I'm a Star Wars guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I found a Star Wars shop, and I was all excited. This was my moment to build a lightsaber. Mm-hmm. And I walked in and looked at the shirts and stuff. See the Boba Fett helmet sitting over here. I'm like, this is awesome, but I'm here for a lightsaber. I went to the lightsaber booth, looked at the lightsaber prices. Turns out I am not as big of a Star Wars fan as I thought I was. Could not pull the trigger on something like that.
So you're saying you're sticking with the flashlight with a little bit of a color tint lens on it, and that's your lightsaber.
I got a 3D printer, man.
Oh, there you go.
There's a way to make one out there.
Yeah, you can make one and put it on one of the old mag lights.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. The big 3 or 4 cell D battery ones.
All the younger folks are out there. What's a mag light?
So that was going to be my Father's Day present to myself. But speaking of gifts, got you a little early Father's Day present there, my friend.
I see that. We're got me a Duke's Mayonnaise cookbook.
I don't see how there's a whole cookbook with nothing but mayonnaise recipes in it. And it's not just like a sandwich, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of salads in here and dressings and green tomato pie.
Ugh. So fun fact, I actually had ordered that copy for you about after we had our last conversation about mayonnaise on the last podcast. I saw that it popped up on my Amazon feed. Go crazy, figured Figure that, right?
Yeah.
Well, Caleb was over here last week, and we were sitting around, and he sees it on the kitchen table, and he's leaving, and he says, "Wait a minute, I got to look at this." He and Amanda sat and flipped through that entire thing, and they're reading all the recipes, and I am dry heaving over some of the things over there. There is just some nasty, nasty stuff in that cookbook.
Skillet Parmesan chicken. That looks good.
Who puts...
I don't know about this fish stew with mayonnaise. That seems kind of weird.
I don't know about that whole book. You're on your own with that one, but when I saw it, I knew you needed to... You gave me a Spam cookbook years ago, right?
I did, yeah. You're the Spam guy.
So I think Amanda hid that cookbook, to be honest. It's somewhere here in my house.
I don't blame her. I can't.
Spam?
I have tried to Spam, and I just can't do it.
Hey, man, when you're in a bind, Spam will do.
I've never been in that big a bind.
So consider that a early Father's Day present.
Well, thank you. I got you absolutely nothing. Oh, goodness gracious.
I remember we were talking about Father's Day presents. Again, Father's Day episode.
Yeah.
I remember, I got tons of great stuff from the kids. A lot of it's really cute and sentimental, right? Like stuff that they made over the years. Mm-hmm. I love that stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do remember when boys are really young. Brandon was probably 5 years old or something like that. VeggieTales was, of course, all the rage at the time. And for Father's Day, I received a Larry Boy tie that I still have, still in my closet. Love it, right? It's just nice. A big Larry Boy in the front. And I wore it to church, man, Sunday morning. And I'm walking down the hallway, and one of the older guys at church looks at me and says, That's a tie. I said, Father's Day present. He said, best tie I've ever seen.
There you go.
Right?
See?
The things we do.
I think you need to break that out tomorrow.
It is Lord's Supper, but I'm not.
You're not going to have Amanda with you, so you don't have to worry about embarrassing her. Break out the Larry Boy tie.
I could do that. I could indeed.
I think you should do it.
I don't know if I have any pants clean that it would go with, though. And I don't know if I've got time to wash clothes between now and then. So, yeah, Amanda's out this week, right?
Yeah,
She's in New York. And hopefully we'll hear about that in a couple weeks.
Yeah, she's out on a mission trip up in New York. So that's awesome.
How about you? Anything special stands out?
I was just, again, going back to my sad story, Shane, but just, once I got together with Gina and adopted Chris, and I was just happy to be a part of the Father's Day thing. I mean, I can remember a lot of little, like you say, handmade stuff that I got. Chris is a little bit older when we got together, but I've got some cards that he's made and stuff like that, and all of it's good to me. I like it all.
Yeah.
I bought my own Father's Day gift this time, and it was a little pricey. It was a little nice.
Yeah.
But I got it, and it's awesome.
I think I bought my own Father's Day present, too. Mine was a radio, so you just saw that one upstairs.
Yeah. Ham radio. Any ham radio operators out there, hit us up.
There you go.
Trying to spread the word.
Internationally.
Yeah, have you seen the numbers lately? Are we still international? Are we still hitting international?
We are. I haven't looked at them this week because of everything else going on, but we are definitely, shout out to our friends in Ireland that continue to download. I appreciate you doing that. And a couple other countries in Europe as well.
Okay, awesome.
So I'd have to pull it up and find it, but yeah.
Nah. If y'all hear it, please tell me about your Jesus.com. Send us a message. I would love to hear from, I'd love to hear from any of y'all, but I think it would be cool to hear from somebody in another country, kind of their how they found us and why they still listen to us.
I am thrilled that everyone we've asked to appear on the podcast they've been like absolutely love to do it.
Yeah.
So that's been exciting. I would love to see if we could get the website out there a little more and maybe have someone like email in and say, hey, I'd love to tell a story on there, right?
Yeah, and
that'd be exciting.
You don't have to be local. We can patch you in on a phone. However we need to do it, we could possibly Skype. I
think we figured out the Zoom thing. I think I know how to work that. I'll play with it while we get this set up here at the house.
So y'all don't be scared. You all are out there. Tell me about your Jesus.com. Spread it, spread it, spread it.
So we were talking again about some stuff I heard on the radio this morning, coming in talking about dads as superheroes, right? That's the connotation of super dad, where you have someone that is out there, comes in to help and everything. You know, I can remember my dad. Of course, my dad is still alive. I'm going to see him tomorrow, so I'm
Nice.
stoked about that. I remember like my dad has helped me move more times than he should. And my dad is a real handy guy. Unfortunately, that skipped a generation with his son. I'm nowhere near as handy as my dad is. He's got a big woodworking shop and all the tools and stuff like that. So his whole motto was, "Hey, I can always build something."
Yeah.
And he did. He built a lot.
That's awesome.
And built cabinets and stuff like that. So anytime he would come over to the house, it's like, Dad, I could use a hand, maybe hanging something or getting it just right, or working on something, around the house. And I would joke that we'd always have something for him to do. Well, now anytime I go down there used to be like some computer stuff or like the Blink cameras or anything like that, or a Fire tablet or an iPhone question. So we've kind of flipped roles a little bit. So now he's in my wheelhouse. That's the kind of stuff that I'm comfortable dealing with, and not like, "Hey, Dad, can you help me repair this faucet on the outside of my house?"
Yeah, that's nice to have the woodworking guy, that you can call back on. Because I can make some things, but man, they sure are ugly. They don't fit together right. But caulk and paint, and it all looks good.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Well, looking back, I wish I had probably passed on more of those skills. The few skills that I do have, I hope I've passed on some to my kids as they're grown. Of course, I'm always willing to continue to teach, right? But I'm not the handiest of the handymen.
Well, but you're still handy. I mean, you can still do things,
Well, I can do things. I just don't do them right.
Well, as long
Or
as
I don't do them well.
if it works, is it wrong?
Well, but if it doesn't work, is it right?
Well, if it doesn't work, then no, it's not right.
So that's my problem is I will look at a task and go, "Man, I can do this," and launch into it and quickly realize that I could not. So then I get frustrated, and then I'm just at the point where I want something to work.
Yeah.
Right, and then I'll just kind of engineer it in there, right?
Yeah, I've done some of that. I've done some of that myself. All my stuff has been mostly, automotive or working out in the shop. I'm not real good with some of the household stuff, but I can usually make do. I just, as I've gotten older, I like things that are nice. My wife says I'm bougie, and I cannot quite achieve that level of bouginess with my handiwork. So
That's funny.
So I did find it funny. We were talking earlier about my son's girlfriend. They're staying at our house, and they were talking about whether or not my son was handy. And I found it nice to hear that, he's handy. He can do this. He can do that. And he knows how to build this and do that. I'm like, yeah, all right.
That's good.
I was going to say kind of along those same lines is, we're raising our kids the way that Jesus taught his disciples, not just I know he did a lot of parables, but he kind of helped them live it out. You know what I mean? It's like you can tell your kid how to do something, but they're going to have to get their hands dirty and figure it out before they really understand it. And I see it in today's society a lot of, I saw a YouTube video on it. Well, that's great, but the YouTube video doesn't tell you how heavy something is or how you got to drill this or, there's details left out that you only get from living and from actually doing it.
Right.
And I think the little bit that I know about what happened in the Bible, what happened back then was Jesus brought those disciples and those people with him, but then he let them find themselves in situations where you can't, you had to spread the word, but you got to live it out. You got to practice what you preach, so to speak. And I think that's kind of a big thing that's kind of missed, I would say, in this generation coming up. Like I see a lot of people talking about a lot of stuff, but I don't see a lot of people getting out and actually doing anything. It's kind of I won't call it the YouTube generation, and I'm guilty. I love some YouTube.
I'm living in a glass house, man. If it weren't for YouTube, there's a lot of things that wouldn't get done around my house.
But we know, we know how to use our hands to an extent, and we know how to use tools because our dad taught us, or in my case, my uncle taught me how to do all that stuff. And again, my uncle didn't teach me how to do it right. He taught me how to do it.
Right.
And then cover it up with caulk and paint, and it looks great. As long as you don't go in there and look at it.
You know what? Your uncle was an AC guy. How do you caulk and paint an AC?
Because he also flipped houses for a long time.
Oh, okay.
He at one time had about 10 or 12 rental houses.
Oh, wow.
And so he would flip them, rent them, and being the cheap guy that he is and taught me to be, was you don't pay somebody else to do it. You go
Do it
in
yourself.
and fix it and get it painted and patch drywall and, taking one big room, building a wall and making it 2 rooms.
Right.
Making one big bedroom, 2 smaller bedrooms, And so a lot of homework with that. And again, he did it all himself. And nobody taught him how to do it.
Right.
He just got out there and did it. So we had a term for it, but we're not going to get into that. So,
Well, and to your point, that's what I watched my dad do for years, go out and build stuff. My granddad was the same way. My mom's dad, and he would always do it himself. And then a lot of times, it's funny because he always used the terms when he needed my dad's help to do something, but he didn't want to come out and ask my dad for help to do it. So he would say, "David, next time you're over here, I got something I want to ask you."
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
just like the next time he happened to be over, and I think Dad told me he figured out pretty quick that he just needed to go on over there to get it taken care of. But I remember my granddad painted cars.
Oh, wow.
Did body work on stuff on the side. He was also the one that was the pastor, right? So he did just a lot of little different things. And man, talking about flipping houses, he literally moved houses every other year.
Yeah, I think that's something else that I don't see a lot of is, like I hear, and I'm going strictly off of my kid and his friends, but they all talk about learning one thing. I want to be this or that, and that's great. You're going to be one thing, be it well. Mm-hmm. But man, when I was growing up, you had to know how to do all kinds of stuff. Mostly because we couldn't afford to pay somebody else to do it.
Yep.
So if you wanted something done, you better figure out how to get out there and do it. You know.
Right. Hey, something else that you were said that when I guess you were having a conversation with Chris or something, you were talking about the guy on the street corner, right?
Oh yeah. I was I had to go down and visit my son. Had some work being done at his house, and I was helping out with some of that. And him and his roommate got to talking, and he was talking about a man in the area that they see on the street corner every day begging and asking for food and help. And it kind of led us into the discussion. Like they were like, well, I'd really like to help this guy, but if I give him $20, how do I know he's going to spend it on food and not go out and spend it, on drugs or alcohol or something that he shouldn't? And that led us into the discussion that it's really not our place. All we can really do is help that person with whether it be monetary or whatever, and pray for them and pray with them, and hopefully that they'll make the right decision and do the right thing with the money you give. But we can't be, hey, I'm going to give you this money only if you go and do what I want you to do with it. Mm-hmm. Should they do right? Sure. You can't control what they do with it, though. So,
well, and the reason that I asked you about that was that actually kind of reminded me about the whole. We're talking about fathers and sons.
Mm-hmm.
Where we try to equip our kids with the same amount of knowledge and things, and we hope they're going to apply it the right way. But even if I look, more, broader spiritual wise, God the Father gives us gifts all the time, right? And things that we're we have a choice on what we want to do with it, right?
Right.
So we can either use things to glorify Him and advance His kingdom and do things like that, or I can choose not to. God still gives the gift, right?
Yeah.
So how do I take what you were talking about? God knows what I'm going to use it for, but still He delivers that gift, right? How do I hold myself accountable that I'm being sure that everything I'm doing with that is for the right thing? Yeah,
that's very true. And kind of on the same thing that just popped in my head was, when we give, as fathers, if we give our kid, a task or something that we need them to do and they do it incorrectly, at first you want to be like, golly, I told you how to do this, and why didn't you? But how many times has God given us a task or us, a gift or something, and we completely blow it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't judge us for it, and he doesn't yell and scream and punish or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's something that as a dad I have had to come to grips with, because I'm short tempered, and I want things done my way, and
I'm the same way, and of course I want things done the right way too.
yeah,
Not saying my way is always the right way, but to me it is.
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And that's one thing that I look back and I could write a book on things that I think I did incorrectly as a dad. Right.
Oh yeah.
My only hope is that 51% was good. Right. A little bit more of better instruction than bad instruction. Right.
Yeah.
So it's that teachability, that the being humble myself to not always be like, this is the only way to do it.
Well, and I think one thing that I'll say that I think that you have done well as a father is that I think if your kids ever had an issue or a problem, they know to just come talk to you. They'll come talk to dad. Hey, what do I do about this or that? Or,
Right.
Whereas I see a lot of parents that are so hard on their kids that the last thing their kids want to do is come to them when they've made a mistake or need help or need to figure something out. I was kind of like that when I was younger, with my uncle. Mm-hmm. If I made a mistake, I would eventually go to him, but that was not my first choice.
Well, it's tough.
Because
right?
I was going to get yelled at or fussed at, I'm sure that you do yell and fuss at your kids, but it would surprise me to see it.
Well,
you know what I mean?
If either of these boys listen to this podcast, they will not surprise them. So, unfortunately,
right now, both of them are typing out messages.
You're not going to believe what my dad said. Yeah. So again, that's one of those things I wish I had been better at, but I do think now, especially as we grow up, our relationships with our kids change.
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure.
We're not in control.
Yep.
We've put the arrow in the right direction and we've let it fly.
Yep.
And what happens at that point. It's more of in God's control than my control. And when I have to realize that, boy, it's tough to let that go, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I heard somebody say, I don't know, several years ago, something about I see a lot of parents that are trying to be their kids' friends rather than their parents. And I heard it said that if you parent well when they're younger, then once your kids get older, you can be their friends then, right, and actually enjoy it because they're good, stable human beings.
Yeah.
And you can enjoy a friendship with your kids. Yeah. Whereas I've seen a lot of parents that have raised their kids as their friends, and then they're a disaster when they get older.
Well,
I mean,
of course, everybody makes their own choices.
Yeah, I would say they each their own, but
no guarantees. I wish there were, but it's now hanging out with I've always loved hanging out with my kids or my kids, right? But hanging out with my sons now, it's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
Things that we can
joke
share
and
together, yeah.
Cut up and talk about old times, and
not even talk about old times. Talk about what's going on in their life now. That's kind of what I want to know about. I can't tell you how many memes I swap with my kids.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's probably our main communication language right now is just memes.
Yeah, yeah.
And talking about different stuff.
You know that I'm guilty of sending a million reels on Instagram all day long. So yeah, I do the same thing with Chris. We'll screenshot something and send it back and forth, or talking about stuff, and he's at the age, he's almost 24, where he's starting to get a little more serious about the world, and we can have some serious good discussions. I think I talk the Bible more to him now than I ever did when he was younger, which I think we talked about earlier was kind of one of the things that I regret, that we didn't have more biblical discussions when he was younger. But I wasn't ready for those. He was, but I wasn't. Mm-hmm. But now he comes home and spends time sitting in the living room, be like, hey, I heard this in a sermon. What do you think about? And me, him, and his mother will sit around and talk about it. And it's cool. Awesome when your kids come home and they want to talk about God. And it's like, okay, I did something right, maybe, Yep,
there you go. That's cool to see.
And I say all these great things about my son all the time. Don't get me wrong. He is as big a goofball as they come. But
aren't we all?
Yeah,
aren't we all, man? Come on.
Yeah.
We just don't see it in ourselves like they do in us.
We were sitting around last night, and Chris was eating chips, of all things. and he left the crumbles in the bottom of the bag. And Gina picked up the bag and was going to get some. She's like, all that's left is the crumbles in here. You get this from your dad. And I'm like, oh, crap.
It's funny. And we were talking about Caleb the other day. Of course, Caleb is a big Auburn fan. I'm a big Auburn.
I pray for
Auburn
him
fan.
about that all the time.
Hey, man, they treated him right. What can I say? But Amanda's dad passed away when Caleb was maybe 2 years old. Okay. So he didn't have a lot of time to get to know Jim, and Jim was a great guy. And it's so funny, though, because Caleb is actually named after Jim.
Okay.
So he's James, and is named after James Wesley Marsh. But James Wesley Marsh was the most diehard Auburn fan I've ever known in my life. When I would go visit, I saw the TV get turned off when they were not doing what they needed to do. I may have seen a remote fly once or twice over anger at something that was going on. The most diehard person, like if it's not going well, I'd turn it off. So last week, Auburn was in playing baseball, right?
Okay.
And they were behind. I asked Caleb, hey, did you watch the game yesterday? Of course, I told him I'm sorry that they lost because I want to give him some consolation. And I said, did you watch the game? He said, nope, turned it off. And I'm just like, you are your granddad personified. It's so funny to see the traits as they get passed along.
Yeah.
So
It's apparently when I was very, very young, I was an Auburn fan. And then my uncle, who was kind of like my dad and my big brother, apparently at some point told me that he would no longer play with me if I did not pull for Alabama.
Oh, really?
And that's when I began pulling for Alabama because Joe was fun.
Okay. Well,
and ever since then, roll tide.
Well, when Brandon was little, he was an Auburn guy. Of course, he really doesn't care either way, right? So, but he was an Auburn guy and then kind of switched to Tennessee and Texas A&M.
What?
Alabama.
What?
Well, I used to pull for Tennessee too.
Well, not Texas A&M.
Well, he went to when he was out in.
Oh,
Texas.
Right, he did go to Texas some, yeah.
Yeah, for a while. Yeah. So I think that kind of rolled into that.
At least he's still staying in the SEC.
He is.
So hey,
he is.
I'll stay with the conference. Do you have any good memories of when you were a kid with your dad? Like for Father's Day, things you got for him or things y'all may have done, trips or going fishing or anything fun like that?
We would go camping every year, right? So mom and dad had a camper.
Okay.
And again, I remember trips where we would go and it would rain and the camper springs a leak. So my dad, being a handy guy, he's out fixing the camper. He's supposed to be on vacation, right? But he's taking care of his family.
Yeah.
He's trying to fix stuff, right? I remember that. I remember one year, like my mom got sick and we're, Dad's taking us to like a pizza place at the beach, and that was a fun time, right?
Yeah, hanging out with Dad.
Well, I think it was more like, hey, we don't want to get what Mom's got. Let's leave. So I think the only time I've been to Paparacas in Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Oh, really? Paparacas? I like that. I like
Love for y'all
Paparacas.
sponsors one day.
They're good. Yeah, we go.
Wound up doing that. So I mean, there's just a lot of it blends together, right? Camping trips. My dad didn't hunt. Right, so we didn't do a lot of hunting things together. Remember my dad teaching me how to shoot a BB gun when I was 10 years old.
That's cool.
That was kind of fun, and that led to another lifelong hobby, right? So that was the gateway. The
lifelong
gateway,
money pit.
The gateway drug was a Daisy 840, right? So and it was a lot of fun. And I remember doing that with him. I remember hanging out in his workshop, building stuff with with the tools he would let me use.
Yeah.
I think I told you this. I'm over 50 right now, and I don't think that I ran a table saw until I was in my late 40s, because anytime I needed to do it, my dad would say, oh, let me do that for you, right?
Yeah.
I had to cut a piece of trim that I took a big piece down there for it. I'm like, hey, I need to pop this on your saw. He's like, I hand here, I got it. He's like, I don't know if he was scared his son was going to lose a finger, but I'm like, Dad, I'm almost 50. I think I got this down, right?
Well, again, as a dad, you want to try to help and do, and let me do it for you. And,
you do.
I do that with Chris all the time. He'll come home and be like, hey, I need to change the oil in my car or something like that. I'll slide up into there and help you sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, my back's hurting. I'm not doing it.
I think I remember talking about that with my dad. I remember taking the boys on like scout camping trips. That was always a lot of fun. That they did a lot that I didn't go on, just to kind of let them kind of do their own
Yeah,
own
spread
thing,
their
right?
own wings a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But the ones that I remember going on were a lot of fun. I remember one we were at Mitchell Dam, I think.
Yeah.
And we were there. We did the tour of the facility
Nice.
beforehand, right? And it was a lot of fun. And we camped there that night. And I just remember it was pouring down rain.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know if Caleb was with us. He may not have been. Brandon was a young Cub Scout, right? And we were in a little 2-man tent. And I remember hearing the rain coming down and being up against the tent. You know, sometimes it'll kind of leak through.
Yeah.
And I kept kind of feeling it. Everything's fine. And at like 6 a.m., I wake up and, you know, my sleeping bag is fine. And I put my hand over to where Brandon is at. And I swear Brandon is like in a pool of water, just sound asleep. Like, how in the world is this kid sleeping through this? So I have to wake him up. Hey, you know, you're soaking wet. Right. So fortunately it was summer, but still had to get up there. And then you got to deal with all the wet sleeping bags. That's always a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that's funny. He was having dreams about being in the pool.
You know, if it hadn't been raining, I'd have wondered, hey, this is not good, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Fun like that. And then, you know, taking them to, I mentioned Disney World earlier. I remember taking them to Disney World and doing some of the fun stuff with them, stuff that really made a lot of memories as a dad. But, you know, those are fun, and I love to see how my boys have grown. But I think some of the best memories we've had were, you know, watching them come up in the church to tie us back here.
Yeah.
Watching them being baptized and all that. And I get emotional thinking about it, right? That, you know, to see some of the things that they're still involved in, some of the things they're still doing.
That's because you did a good job. You and Amanda both.
Not me. It's the other father. That that my father, heavenly and earthly, I think gave me just enough grace to be able to kind of show them to get them the right way.
Yeah.
And that's all I needed. So all credit goes to God for anything good that's coming out there. So Chris came home to see you for Father's Day, obviously?
He came home for Tyler's engagement party. His friend's getting engaged this afternoon.
Did he remember it was Father's Day?
He did. He also told me, and when I bought that pistol, I said, he said, you know, my mom let you buy it? I was like, yeah. She said, Happy Father's Day. He goes, yeah, that's probably all you're getting.
Oh, so he's just kind of tagging on that. Well, I tell him.
His money's tight. So.
I understand. I mean, that's why I tell my kids, they're the same way, just getting started. I don't need anything.
Yeah.
In fact, Brandon, he came up for Mother's Day, right, and spent some time up here. It was a quick trip for him, though. Mm-hmm. I told him, it's like, son, I appreciate more than anything that you were willing to make the trip. Take the day off, relax, FaceTime with me, talk to me. That's all I need, just to check in. Hey, Dad, how you doing? That's all I need. Maybe, and let me see Archie on the FaceTime too. I'll take that.
I may throw a steak or two out tonight and make him cook steaks for lunch tomorrow.
Nice.
Since he's the grilling guy now.
I need to check with my dad, see what we're having for lunch tomorrow. We're going to try to do that. So.
Oh, goodness. You got your Bible verse?
Yeah, so I have a slightly different verse to share this week.
Okay.
So we've been reading through the Bible and plowing through, right? We're trying to do chronological. We're staying pretty close to it. And we got through the part of David. David became king, and David died, and then passed on the kingdom to Solomon. But for the whole Father's Day conversation here, you know, what's our job as dads? And I found this. This is supposedly, if I remember correctly, and I'm shooting from the hip here, so could be incorrect. Take it with a grain of salt. Not theologian.
There you go.
This is from Psalm 145, and I believe this is one of the last recorded songs of David. It's right before his death's recorded.
Okay.
So it's one of the last things he talks about. And this is after he's gone through and he tells Solomon, hey, you're going to build the temple. this is what I've done for you. I've prepared gold. I've prepared silver. You've got all this, the wood, the cedar from Lebanon. You know, you got the finest of the finest things that he has built up for him to do God's work. So going back to Father's Day,
Yeah.
have we invested in our kids to be able to give them everything they're going to need to do their best work to glorify God?
Wow.
I think there's a question that as dads, we look at ourselves and we say, are we doing enough? Do we need to do more? I think any investment that we're putting in our kids' life is absolutely worth it. So, you know, I would just encourage any dads that might be listening, keep doing what you're doing.
Yep.
If you're a son that maybe you haven't been in touch with your dad, you know, and let's face it, some dads are not good.
Yeah.
Some moms are not good.
Yep.
That's just the world we live in. I think this is an opportunity to reach out and try to have that relationship restored. But anyways, going back to the Bible verse where I was originally going with this.
We're good, man.
This is Psalm 145:4.
Okay.
And I highlighted it because as we're talking with the podcast and trying to get people to talk about what God has done in their life, I think this is a perfect fit to what we're trying to do. It says, one generation shall commend your works to another and shall declare your mighty acts.
Yeah.
And I think if we do that, we build each other up. We hear the good stories. We see where God is working. We see how God delivers us. We're also sharing our burdens.
Yeah.
You know, when things are not good, we share it with each other. We pray for each other. We lift each other up. And I think that helps encourage us as well.
That's awesome. I love it.
So that's my Bible corner for the moment.
Yeah, I like it, man. That's
Going
awesome.
back to VeggieTales, that's the QWERTY moment of the podcast.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to end it off there. We appreciate everybody joining us today, and we're gonna look forward to seeing y'all next time. Again, I want to encourage everybody to go to tellmeaboutyourjesus.com and leave us a message. Talk to us. Send us something you like about it, you don't like about it. We can do better. Something going on in your life. If you just need prayer, or if you need that and you don't want it put on the podcast, that's fine too. Just tell us, hey, I don't need this on the podcast. I just need y'all to pray for me.
Yep.
We'd be glad to do that. Anything we can do to help. So just remember, God loves you. He has a plan for you, and He will work things out in His way. So, Brian.
Sounds good.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Thank you again for joining us for this episode of the Tell Me About Your Jesus podcast. We hope you've been reminded of God's faithfulness. He loves you, has a plan for your life, and is always working around you. We invite you to visit us on our website, tellmeaboutyourjesus.com, and share your story with us. You can also reach us by emailing hosts@tellmeaboutyourjesus.com, or you can interact with us on our social media channels. We'll see you next time.